What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 15 of Brick Talk.
Today, we are ranking the top 25 most talked about Lego sets that are retiring at the end of this year.
Now, for this list, we are excluding all of the Star Wars sets because we've already done a tier list for those. We're going to do another one later in the year since that list has changed a lot with these recent May updates. Starting us off, we have a Lord of the Rings Brickhead 40631 Gandalf the Grey and Balrog. This set came out in the beginning of 2023. Look at that part count, 348 for just a $20 MSRP. This is a Lego store exclusive because it's a Brickhead. I'm a big fan of this set. I only have a couple. Brickheads are some of the best performers. Of course, they are harder to get in mass because of Lego's quite strict quantity limits. All right, so as is going to become very apparent during the rest of this list, I am not a Lord of the Rings lore nerd. I don't even know who these characters are.
Yeah, so DG, I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan either. I have seen all the movies, read some of the books, and so I probably know a little bit more than you do. Question though, are you worried at all about the 2-year shelf life? That's starting to get a little long for a Brickhead set. I'm not, but are you?
I am not, because it's a Lego store exclusive. Of all the places that people can buy Lego, I think Shop at Home is actually pretty niche. I think there's a ton of people who purchase from other retailers and don't even know they can order straight from Lego. So a lot of people will never know this set even existed. Of course, the hardcore fans are going to know about it and are going to pick up their limit, but no, I'm not worried about it. So what do you think? This is only our first set. I think we should start off a little bit modest. We're going to place Balrog here in positively profitable.
DG, I totally agree with you. We're starting off on the wrong foot here, man. So while we're on the Lord of the Rings Brickheads topic, 2 other Lord of the Rings Brickheads are currently in the top 25 most mentioned sets. The first one is 40630, Frodo and Gollum. And the second one is Aragorn and Arwen. And many of you may be asking, why would we not talk about this set, Legolas and Gimli? It is not in the top 25 most mentioned for this year so far because it just came out, but BG, you and I both know, looking at this set, it's going to be just as popular. But Frodo and Gollum, it's third place of the 3 that we're ranking, but I still like it a lot. I love our little naked hamster Frodo over here. Same 2-year shelf life. And then Aragorn and Arwen, really good. And I actually think this one might do better than Balrog because there's so much attention on Balrog because the build is fantastic. I do want to point out some comparable data. So here we are looking at the original Lord of the Rings theme on Brick Economy. It was 15 sets and they came out around 2013 and 2012. And if you were to scroll through more slowly, you would see that the growth on many of these sets is 2, 3, 400%. I want to show that the theme overall has a 445% growth. So about 10 years ago, you could have spent $783 retail and they'd be worth about $3,500 today. So I'm not saying that the new sets will perform this well, but clearly there's a lot of appeal for Lord of the Rings Lego. And then also let's just look at Brickheads in general. I want to show the same data, 540% growth on the theme lifetime.
Yeah, although the new sets are Brickheads and therefore Lego store exclusives, I don't think they're going to reach such lofty heights because these are awesome play sets with awesome minifigures that just encapsulate the medieval, brutal aesthetic super well. And Brickheads are just a completely different product line, so I don't think they're going to do as well. Also, going underneath that overall theme growth, 445%, that is quite impressive. But we have to remember, these sets are now 9 or 10 years retired. And so we want to point out that 11.41% has probably tapered off in the last couple of years. The best time to sell these sets would have been 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years after retirement.
Yeah, DG, great points. And I totally agree. We're not looking at 3, 4, 500% return on investment, but 250% on the Brickheads, I think is very doable, especially because if we look over here at the entire Brickheads theme on Brick Economy, lifetime 540% return on investment. Now, obviously, some of those have knocked it out of the park.
Before you get into that, can you sort it by growth? Because I think this includes the Comic-Con crazy ones.
It definitely is going to be skewed by those Comic-Con ones, but it's 162 sets. There's only a few of those.
Yeah, but still, those are crazy freaking outliers. If we looked at something like the median, which I don't think Brick Economy shows us, maybe we'd get a more accurate sample. But your point stands, Kevin. Brickheads grow tremendously, partly because they're at that small $9.99 price point, or some of them at the $20 price point.
But I did want to look at some recent comparables, the best comparables that I think are worth considering. And that's these 3 Minecraft Brickheads that retired at the end of last year. So they've only been retired for about 6 months. And obviously, single packs, they retailed for 30 total. And over over $60 on eBay, $55 on eBay. And, when you look at all the other Brickheads, these new Lord of the Rings are probably most closely synonymous with these. So we've already doubled money. So I think that we're going to at least 2.5 times our money on the Lord of the Rings sets. Are you ready to rank them?
Let's do it. First, we have Frodo and Gollum here. What are you thinking on this one?
I'm thinking C tier.
Just C tier?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's between C tier and positively profitable, but I think that one will do less performance than the rest of them.
Okay, only because it's not as cute as Balrog, we're going to put him in C tier. I still think we're being a bit harsh on these. These are Lego exclusives. We know they're going to double in price, but C tier it is. And what are these two?
Now, what do you think for Aragorn and Arwen?
I'm going to come in here with a little bit of an uneducated Lord of the Rings fan hot take here. When I look at these two Brickheads, we talk about the glance test. These don't scream Lord of the Rings to me. I know they represent those characters with their crowns and everything, but it just doesn't scream Lord of the Rings the way these other two do. I still think it's going to do all right. We're going to put it in C tier, but we're going to put it behind Frodo and Gollum here.
Wait. C tier, last place? Absolutely not. Now, wait a minute. Didn't we name our top level on this tier list after Lord of the Rings? Absolute winner, Barad-dûr. I'm going to pronounce that different every time, by the way. It's so hard to say.
All right, fine, Kevin. I can get with that. We're going to put the cutest one of all in first place. We're going to slide each of these up. How's that look?
All right, fine. I begrudgingly agree.
This is the set that I feel the most confidence about. I don't see a lot of potential downside with this set at all. Of course, we're going to have to look later in the year at the supply and demand data, but so far so good. So absolute winner right here.
I accept.
All right, now that we're done talking about the first theme that I know nothing about, we're going to segment into our next theme that I also know nothing about. The next sets to talk about out of the top 25 are all Sonic the Hedgehog themed Brickhead sets. So here we have the primary character Sonic, of course, launched in September of 23. Launched alongside him is Miles Tails Prower. To be completely honest, I don't even know who this character is. I have never seen this man before. And the third Sonic Brickhead on the list is a dual pack Knuckles and Shadow. Look over on the right at that launch date. This is a more recent release in February of this year. All three of these sets are scheduled to retire by the end of 2024. So if that is true, this dual pack will have the shortest shelf life of all at 11 months. It seems like those dual packs more often have a closer to a 2-year shelf life. Like with Minecraft, we've seen the single packs can have the 1 year or the less than 1 year. So while it's currently on the list, I'm not so sure about that dual pack.
Yeah, it might get extended. I don't think so. I think that one goes at the end of this year. You know who Sonic is?
Yes, he's the titular character.
Are you sure?
He goes real fast. That's his thing.
Have you ever played Sonic?
No.
You've never played Sonic? Oh, man. Your poor childhood.
Yeah, the generational divide is starting to show itself.
Wait a minute. Did you call me old? I think I just got called old. I heard it. You heard it here first. I just got called old.
Once again, words are being placed in my mouth.
No, that one I heard loud and clear. The audience heard that one loud and clear. I know a little bit about Sonic. Played the original Sonic on the Sega Genesis growing up. It was awesome. So Sonic is great. Tails is awesome. Shadow and Knuckles are super cool. The short shelf life is great. Like we've already talked about, the Brickheads do very well. So let's just go over here and let's just look at a couple of sub themes. So I'm trying to find sub themes that are, not like the obvious ones. Lego Movie 2 sub themes, there are 4 of them, and they're all going for, a cool $100 to $150.
Yeah, because they all had a 27-day shelf life. And your examples have been thrown out, my friend. Find a new sub theme.
You stole my thunder. So obviously the Sonic sets are not going to do anything like this, but it was pretty fun to show these off. Man, I wish I had some of these characters. I don't. All right, but now if we go to Minions, there are only 2 of them. They retired over a year ago. One of them had almost a 2-year shelf life, and the other one was just shy of a year shelf life. And $20, these are brick set numbers, so take them plus or minus, but shows that these have not grown that much. So I'm going to come up with a really intelligent statement here and say that I think the Sonic sets are going to go somewhere in between the Lego Movie 2 sets that have, 1,000% growth, and then these Minion sets that have a 5% growth.
I want to put Knuckles and Shadow up in positively profitable because sometimes it's not the titular characters that go on to do amazingly. It's these fringe characters, and any Sonic collector of Brickheads is going to need these to complete their collection. With the shorter shelf life, this is going to retire and escape under a lot more people's noses. And so that's why it goes higher than the other 2 Brickheads, which belong firmly in C tier.
Ooh, Ooh, I agreed with you right up until you put Tails into C tier. Tails should be positively profitable. The primary character usually does a little less performance than the other characters, and Tails is more popular than Shadow and Knuckles, so I think that's going to offset the longer shelf life. For me, I'm positively profitable on Tails, behind Knuckles and Shadow.
I'm going to concede since I know nothing about this theme, and we'll have it your way.
Uh-oh, now if I'm wrong, it's all on me.
Next on our list here of the most popular sets, we have 10320 Eldorado Fortress, launched here July 4th of 23. If it retires at the end of 24, let's do a little math. That's an 18-month shelf life, which is very short for a set of this price point. I think this set is going to do amazingly. I'm very high on it. We looked at the 9 minifigures, all unique. This set stands on its own as an awesome Lego set. I want this for my own collection. With this retro box design, this set is going to appeal to some old fans too. This is a very large box, and at the retail price of $215, it seems well worth it. So I think in the eyes of the consumer, it's easy to imagine this set being worth $250 or $300, maybe even more. And if you can get it on discount from that $215 price, you could be looking at a pretty serious Lego investment. We can see here the Pirates of Barracuda Bay, a similar set in the same sort of theming, same sort of vein, also had that retro style box. And I'm not saying it's because of the box, but this set went on to become an amazing Lego investment. So with all that said, I'm very high on the Eldorado Fortress at the right price.
Yeah, good point on the at the right price. But DG, you disappoint me on talking about this one. So you're telling me you're going to point out the price to part ratio on little Balrog, a little Brickheadz set, but you're not going to point out that it's 2,500 pieces for only $215 on this large set with a bunch of regular and large size pieces. Like, dude, did you sleep last night, or have you not had your coffee yet? Like, what's going on, man? Like, this is the one where we talk about how awesome of a price it is. And I have one piece of anecdotal evidence. So I have built this set and it was a fun build. The minifigures are great. I loved it, right? The printing quality on the minifigures wasn't so good. They need that white to be more white, more opaque, but that's standard Lego production issues right now. But I was just about done building it and I asked my parents, I think I've mentioned this in previous video, but they were over, they were looking at it. And I asked them, I said, hey, how much do you think this set is? And my mom guessed 275 and my dad guessed 300. So that's pretty good anecdotal evidence on, what a great price it is. And yeah, we're going to be able to get it on sale, stack, gift with purchase, promo, whatever, right? Like we're going to be able to get it for, 190, maybe even better, depending on how things go. And so I think there is a lot of runway with this set.
I'm kind of excited because we've just uncovered a new metric to rate sets. It's the dad, how much is this worth test. I'm going to have to try this on my dad. Of course, it's anecdotal evidence. This is not a serious metric that you should base buying decisions for your business to the tune of thousands and thousands of dollars, but I just might.
Well, I don't know about your dad, but my dad actually, pays a little bit of attention to Lego. He buys 1 or 2 new sets a year and he puts them away and never opens them up. And he doesn't buy them for investing. And I've asked him a few times and he says, well, Lego makes 1 or 2 each year that are fantastic, like just out of this world fantastic, at least in his eyes. And he likes the realistic ones. And so he's got the original Boeing airplane from, I think it was the 777, the 777 from 15 years ago, new in box, right?
Oh, the really, really studdy one? Oh, that set is horrible. It's aged like milk.
It has, but that thing is worth a mint now. He has the original UCS Millennium Falcon, new in box, of course. And so I'm actually going to do a video someday where it's going to be like an unboxing, like a time capsule unboxing where I look at his sets.
So now we have a new established expert in the room. I'm going to ask the question that all our viewers are wondering. What is your dad's top set pick for 2024?
So I don't think that he doesn't think of it like that. And so I can't answer it's not by year or by theme because, sets are out for multiple years sometimes and all that kind of stuff. So all I can tell you is what he has purchased most recently, which would be like his latest favorite set. He bought the Treehouse about 4 months ago. He said, all right, I finally am going to pull the trigger. I want one of those. And he's seen mine built. I point up there. It's right over there, but you can't see it. I've asked him, what are we going to do with all these? And he's like, well, honestly, someday they're going to go to you and you're going to open them up and build them with your kids or grandkids. I was like, yes. So I tell him, keep buying, find your favorite set or 2 every year and keep buying them. Just store them at your house. It's all good.
Dad, I think you should take withdrawals from your 401k so you can buy me some Lego sets. That's too funny, man. Someday we're going to get both our dads on the podcast. I think it would be hilarious to have both our dads talking about Lego, which yours probably knows a little bit more than mine, but just to share their their perspectives of this seems good, this one not so good.
Hey, what do you think about this one? It'll be like, well, that looks terrible. And you and I'll be like, oh, that was our number one set. All right, let's get back talking about Eldorado. So even though I love this set, here's the data that I just looked up that's giving me some pause. And the data is a little worse now than when I did my power rankings video a couple of months ago. Only 100 sold on Amazon in the last month. And I don't know how long this has been on sale, but that's not a very big number. Now let's go look at the Camel 3X chart. It hasn't been out of stock on Amazon, and so we're not going to see a lot of third-party sales action, but the little bit we have seen, yeah, it's gone up to 270, but that's a brief period of time. But now it's basically at or just below the Amazon retail price. And then lastly, if we go to eBay, 200 shipped. This is 195 shipped. And so you're a good bit below MSRP. I'm not going to worry too much about it, but I think that those signs are pointing that it's going to be a longer hold time, a little narrower of a market. I think it's going to take a little while in the secondary market for people to warm up and be like, oh yeah, that set, even though it's kind of a standalone pirate set, it's retro, it refers back to the past, there's a lot of nostalgia, and it's just a fantastic build. So just a few things to look at, but overall, I still love the set.
I do too. And actually, I really like the way you're thinking about this, which is thinking in terms of supply and demand. Who's going to want this set and who's going to be willing to pay $300 for it? You said it's a standalone pirate set. At the moment, it is. There aren't too many other pirate sets. Of course, you have your hardcore collectors who have Barracuda Bay, maybe some vintage pirates. But at the moment, yeah, there aren't a lot of other pirate sets that are going to drive demand to this set.
All right, are you ready to rank it?
I got to admit, Kevin, I came into this thinking a lot higher of this set, but I'm a little bit more concerned now about the limited market that it appeals to. Let me throw it back at you. What are you thinking for the rank?
I am thinking positively profitable, but in between the Lord of the Rings Brickheadz and the Sonic Brickheadz, right there in the middle.
You really think so? I am now not so sure this is going to be a positively profitable set.
Remember that price to part ratio, and I'm factoring in kind of that standard minimum 20% off, at least equivalent. And I think when you do all that, I think you can make a decent return on each one.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going to allow my personal bias to seep back in and bump this set up one tier higher than it really should be. This is a positively profitable set. Let's move on.
So DG, next up is kind of an interesting one, I think. It is a Technic John Deere set, and we don't have many John Deere sets. Actually, we have 3, and they're all very recent. So this is a new sub-theme, and I think there's some real opportunity. There's a lot of buzz about this one in particular. Almost a 3-year shelf life, $35, been on sale for 20% off pretty much all the time. Looks pretty cool. If we look on Amazon, this one is selling $800 in the last month at the 20% off. If we look at some comparables, here's a bucket wheel excavator that retired in 2018. This was a big set. According to Brickset, $280 to over $400. I think this is a pretty good comparable. It's one of very few actual Technic tractors. This one retired in 2017, $180 to $350-ish. And here's a couple of Volvo Technic sets, and I purposely picked these because John Deere, Volvo, kind of major competitors, right? And the Volvo yellow, the John Deere green. And if we look at this first one, it retired in 2021, $250, and it's dropped in value. So that's some concern. But if we look at this Volvo EW160E, that's a mouthful. It did retire in 2017. It's up a little bit from 120 to 180. So it does make me kind of curious. Why are the Volvo themed sets not doing as well as the non-themed construction and farming Technic sets? So in short, I like this one a fair amount, but I'm not quite as enthusiastic about it as a lot of the other YouTube videos that I've watched on it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm not that excited about this one. I haven't seriously considered it. Of course, the big thing it has going for it is the John Deere branding. That's a big company, popular company. It's a publicly traded company. And this being the lowest price point of the John Deere tractors certainly means something to me. I do want to point out it's $35 US for 390 pieces. And in the world of Technic, that's not very good price per piece when a lot of those are small little axles and pins. Also do want to point out that this set originally cost $30. And then in that price bump in August of 22, it was bumped up to $35. I think that's going to hurt this set because the 20% off price of $28 is basically the old MSRP. So I have some concerns. So I've said this before on the podcast. One of the criteria that I use to pick good Lego investments is the value inside the box for the MSRP. I love when sets like this dual pack Corvette right behind my head have a good value inside the box, even at the MSRP. It's easy to justify paying that MSRP, and you almost wonder, why is this so cheap? Why isn't it priced higher? This John Deere set has the opposite of that. I wonder, why is this tiny little dinky tractor and this little dinky trailer $35? I'm seeing like $15 in the tractor, and I'm seeing like maybe 10 for the trailer, maybe plus 5 for the premium branding and the licensing fees and everything. That adds up to 30, and I'm being generous, and yet MSRP is 35. You and I, Kevin, are both members of the Ignite program, so I've put in the supply and demand channel the set number here, and up pops this table. I can see the average Amazon price over the last 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, and the last year. In this column, we can see the average Amazon percentage of days this set is out of stock. In the last 7 days, it's been out of stock 43% of the time, but over the last year, only 2% of the time. So recently, this set has just gone out of stock at Amazon. And this next column here is the one I'm really looking at, the average Amazon market price while Amazon itself is out of stock. And over the last year, the average market price has been $33.77. In other words, under the MSRP. It's not a good sign for investment. We can see there's already 43 sellers on the listing, and this set isn't even retired yet. So this is a case where I was a little bit on the fence. I was willing to hear you out, Kevin, but I gotta say this data does not look good. When it comes to ranking this John Deere tractor, I must ask myself, what are all these resellers thinking?
No, I agree. I mean, there are elements of it that I like, but mostly I was reporting that, of all the videos that I've watched, there's just been a lot of positive energy around it, and I'm just not quite there yet. So I agree with that. Now on to another Brickheadz. This time it is Prisoner of Azkaban figures from Harry Potter.
Oh man, I feel like we just talked about this one on the podcast.
As you can see, DG loves the Brickheadz. Hey, one good thing about this one is that it's going to have a really short shelf life, under a year.
Under a year because it's not selling well at all. Look at that MSRP, $50 for 5 little dinky Brickheadz. You don't get any discount for the burden of having to pick up 5 characters, 2 of which are the main characters, which you don't even really want because you already have them. So you're now paying $50 for a Patronus, a Dementor, and Sirius Black. That is horrible.
So you are relatively positive on this set, or what? I couldn't quite grasp what you were saying there, because I know you love the Brickheadz.
Yeah, if I look at another Brickhead today, I'm going to throw up.
Let me look at our list and see if we have any more. Nope, this is the last one, DG.
Oh, thank God.
You are getting through the worst part of this for you, but let's look at some comparable data. So yeah, we're on the same page, but if we look at the comparable data, the one that's most similar is this Professors of Hogwarts that retired at the end of last year. It was on a big discount right at the end. So if you got a few at that price, then the $45 today, again, this brick set number, so it's approximate. Maybe that's okay. This one is really bland and plain. Apparently I got the wrong one, and I have 3 of these. Not doing so well. And then Voldemort, Nagini, and Bellatrix. It's actually pretty cool, and a lot of people are surprised this one is not performing better. So let's just look at sales on eBay. If we see the Professors of Hogwarts, over 55 shipped. Here's the Harry, Hermione, Ron, and Hagrid, $30 shipped. And we've got more than one comparable at this point, right? Like, we can't just say, oh, that was an outlier. We got 3. The comparables are not great. This one just doesn't do it for me. Most of these figures, I just don't even like that much.
Kevin, you're being Mr. Positive once again. You said these comparables are not great. These comparables are awful.
But not great, in my words, it means awful. You know that. If I say something's great, if I give you a compliment and say, oh, you did great, what that means is you met my expectations. You need to hear outstanding out of me to know that you really did something great, okay?
All right, I'm sick of talking about this set already. Let's rank it and move on. So yes, I know it has a short shelf life, but what does that really matter if nobody wants the set? This is a hoopty tier Lego investment, and I will hear no further debate.
Harry Potter is just kind of a dying Lego theme too. So hoopty, we got her first.
I'm not even opposed necessarily to investing in Harry Potter play sets. Those can be pretty cool. And some of the recent ones like the Hospital Wing are off to a great start on Amazon. So Harry Potter itself is maybe D tier, but Harry Potter Brickheadz, bottom of the barrel, my friend. The next group of sets in this most popular list are all speed champions. And all 4 of the top most mentioned speed champions on your list, Kevin, are the March 2022 class. In other words, these are old, stale ends of the bread loaf when it comes to speed champions. No, not really, not completely seriously. I'm mostly kidding there. In fact, a lot of these sets have been held back because they're such strong sellers, and LEGO wants to keep that demand for themselves instead of passing it on to the secondary market. So first off, we have the 1970 Ferrari 512M, awesome looking classic car. We have the Lotus Evija, which is the first ever Lotus speed champion. Of course, we also have the Lamborghini Countach. And moving over here, we have the Mercedes AMG F1 W12E Performance and the Mercedes AMG Project 1. This is a dual pack. It's 2 cars in 1 box and at a pretty reasonable price of 35 bucks. That's a pretty good inherent value inside the box. We can see from Brickset that all of these sets were launched in March of 2022. So by the time they retire at the end of this year, they're going to be 33 months old, which is quite old. And yet they're still selling quite well. If we look on Amazon, we can search LEGO Speed Champions. And right here in the top row of the search, we see this Mercedes set 2000 bought in the last month. I think the fact that you get 2 cars in 1 box drives a lot of demand for maybe thriftier customers who want to get a gift for a kid or something. Oh, I can get 2 cars in 1 box for just 30 bucks. Whereas your Ford Mustang Dark Horse is 27 just on its own. This is a way better deal. Scrolling on down, we have the Lotus Evija selling 2000 in the last month. And strangely, that is available for 20% off, 16 bucks, which used to be the standard price you would want to get speed champions at. But now that the prices are higher, I think Amazon and other retailers are going to be a little bit stingier about discounting these old $20 speed champions down to 16 when the rest of the line is like 25, 27 and up. So the Lotus is for 20% off, 2000 bought, but Amazon knows they can get full price for this Lamborghini Countach. This is such a strong selling set. We've been saying this for years, but it's true. 3,000 bought in the last month at full price today, and I think that's been at full price or 20 cents off from full price for the last couple months. Scrolling on down here, we can finally see the 1970 Ferrari, 18 bucks and 1,000 bought in the last month. And one set cannibalizing some of that demand for that vintage Ferrari is this newer Ferrari. The Amazon listing has the wrong name, but this is the Competizione. Let me know how my Italian is in the comments below. In case we weren't aware, there's a new leak for August of 2024. One of the new speed champions for that class is going to be another red Ferrari F40. And then of course, we also have the giant $400 red Technic Ferrari. So for the latter half of this year, we're going to have 4 red Ferraris on shelves at the same time. This makes me very confident that LEGO is finally going to retire the oldest one of all, which is the 512M. Moving over here to the Lamborghini Countach, we have to remember that new releases can sometimes drive demand to older sets that have just retired. And if we look at the upcoming leaks, it is rumored that we have a full-size version of this set. That set looks amazing. And at the $200 price point, that leaves this set a ton of room to grow to $40, $50, even $60. And you'd say, yeah, I'll pay $60 for the small one because I don't have $200 for the large one. And if your end buyer is paying $60 for this set and you can get it for 20% off at $16, that's a pretty good ROI. Lastly here, before I turn it over to Kevin, we have this Mercedes dual pack. At first, I was pretty down on this set, but with the recent release of the McLaren F1 car in orange and black, that adds collectability to this one. So this is yet another example of a new release potentially driving demand and collectability to this old release once it retires at the end of this year.
With the primary market price points going up when you buy them off the shelf, and that these are, some of the lower price points compared to that, then we are getting these kind of at a discount, get them on sale, even a better discount. People are going to be conditioned to paying more for a single Speed Champions vehicle. And so there is runway with these. So yeah, Speed Champions are evergreens, but these do feel a little stale. And it does, start to feel like, hey, maybe the Speed Champions theme is losing some appeal and some attraction. Even the new sets that have come out are all looking great. So I'm still excited about them, but I need to get them for $16 and then hope that I sell them for about $30. I think these are just kind of your standard double your money after a year or two type sets.
As a fan, I love Speed Champions, but I'm a little concerned looking at the recent results. Last Black Friday from Walmart, we had the Yesco and the Supra go 50% off from $20 down to $10 buy price. And looking at today's price, those sets are both still in stock on Walmart.com, and the Amazon third-party price is barely above the MSRP. So I think Speed Champions have begun to undo themselves. The volume in the market is large. There's a lot of fans, but it's not as large as something like Star Wars or something like modular buildings. And so I'm a little worried that these sets are becoming over-hoarded. Looking at some recent retirees like the McLaren Elva from about a year and a half ago, that's off to a pretty slow start. The James Bond DB5 hasn't even gone out of stock at Amazon. I think Amazon themselves was investing and hoarding back a couple of pallets of that. Fast and Furious Dom's Charger is the exception. That one was always the hardest to find, so we could have looked at the supply numbers on that and seen, oh, low supply. This one's going to be a winner.
You mean this guy?
Oh, I've got a couple of those myself. Yeah, those are off to a great start. But if you played the field and diversified across all the speed champions retiring in 23, a little bit of a challenge.
Let's rank these. Let's put them on the board.
Well, Kevin, 2 of these sets I mentioned in a video last year, stating they will retire at the end of 23. Now it's the end of 24. And so I know for myself, I took my inventory of the Lotus and this red Ferrari, I case packed them, and I pushed them into the back of the closet to save them for next year. I'd be willing to bet a lot of other investors like me did the same thing. And so it's possible the supply for these 2 are going to be very high. I don't feel good about them. It pains me to do it, but I'm going to put the Lotus down in questionable choice. I got the red Ferrari right next to it. The Lamborghini Countach, despite its longer shelf life, I think it's going to perform the best out of these single cars because its bigger brother Technic form, $200 price point, is coming out soon. So this, I think, is going to be profitable. And of course, lastly, with the Mercedes, not only do we have the new McLaren F1 car out, but we have the just unveiled G-Class and SL65, another Mercedes set. The Lego market is worldwide, not just in the US. And I know in Europe and Africa and other places around the world, Mercedes is huge. So I think this one is going to be popular. The last 2-pack to retire was that way overpriced Aston Martin dual pack, but a year before that, we had the dual pack Corvette, $30 MSRP instead of $35, but that one is off to a pretty good start. And if you got it on discount, you're doing pretty well right now. So I think this dual pack Mercedes is going to be at the high end of a C tier Lego investment.
I like these rankings. Only one minor tweak. I think the Ferrari needs to go ahead of the Lotus, still in questionable choice, only because the printing on the Lotus windscreen is awful. It gets dinged for that, even though people will still collect it because it's a cool speed champions. But yeah, no, I think you're absolutely perfect on those rankings.
Looking now at it, I'm not so sure this Mercedes dual pack belongs in C tier because of the collectability, like we talked about. Do we think that could go up to be positively profitable?
I was either going to say top of C tier or bottom of positively profitable. So yeah, put it next to the Countach. It's a good deal on a 2-pack.
Yeah, I don't know. Now that I have it there, I'm looking at the distribution on our list. I think we're being a little optimistic. We're going to bump this down to the top of C tier.
Dang it, DG. Next time I'm driving the list.
Yeah, you said that last time. No chance, buddy.
All right, well, we knocked out the speed champions, and DG, I was just looking over the rest of our list that we're covering in this video, and it looks like it's mostly larger, more expensive, adult-oriented sets. Not so many groupings, 1 or 2 little groups, but mostly standalone sets, so it'll be fun to go through these. So the first one is an interesting one. I'm really curious what your thoughts are on this, and it is this Indiana Jones Temple of the Golden Idol diorama, $150, 1,545 pieces. It is a 4.7 on brick set, so a hugely popular set. It will have under a 2-year shelf life, which is really good. As you know, I like to bring props, and so here's mine that I built. And
Evan, you always bring props in small head mode.
And here's mine that I built in big head mode. There you go. Man, got to make the editor happy. It's a really cool set. All kinds of action features, all these dials. Oh, you can turn the light on. Check that out. I can load this up over here, make the golden idol come up, and then bam, I can make that guy fall down. It's really good. I mean, the action features are awesome. The build was a lot of fun.
Okay, finally, you set that thing down. I can breathe again. I was so scared you were going to tip that thing over.
I'd make my kids rebuild it for me. If we look at the Indiana Jones theme as a whole on brick economy, 645% return on investment, but most of these sets came out years ago, like 10 to 15 years ago, when good Indiana Jones movies were still being made. Right now, we just have these 3. The most recent Indiana Jones movie wasn't that good. Although I personally love the set, and although I see that Indiana Jones has had popularity in the past, I'm wondering if that popularity is going to keep transcending generations or if we're about to see it die out. And that's what I'm worried about. So even though this is a fantastic set, I'm worried that there's just going to be no demand for it here pretty soon.
This set may come out, as you say, in an era where there's no future demand for it. But couldn't the same also be said in 2008 or 2009? And yet those sets have gone on to just boom and explode in popularity. I know that a lot of that price growth has happened after that theme retired and after there were no more Indiana Jones sets available. Maybe something similar will happen after this modern resurrection of the theme. I'm kind of debating, will there be demand? Will there not? Looking at past examples, wondering what's different. If everything looks the same, then of course these sets might explode. But to me, it's just a lot of risk, and I'm steering well clear of these.
All right, I really had to think about this one. I'm going to go with top of what were they thinking. I know what investors are thinking, but I think we need to think very cautiously. So that's where I'm going. What do you think, DG?
Like we said, there could be almost no buyers willing to pay 200 or 250 bucks for this set, but it also could surprise. If this theme leaves, people are craving it once again. This being the flagship set, well, it could be 500 bucks. It could be 1,000 bucks based on the ROIs on those last sets. I think that's a much less likely outcome. I think it's a questionable choice. Let me put it this way. If a friend of mine told me, hey, I think I'm going to invest in the Temple of the Golden Idol set, what do you think? I would say that's a questionable choice, but I don't think I would laugh my friend out of the room the way I would with John Deere.
Okay, that's, well, now wait a minute. The John Deere's not that bad. But I agree. So here's the very creatively titled Batwing, Batman versus the Joker. We haven't seen that before. It's $38, 357 pieces for two minifigures. I guess one of them is unique, but how many Jokers and Batmans have we had in Lego minifigure form? They're both going to have just under a year and a half shelf life, so that helps. It's a 4.4 on Brickset. I mean, it looks cool. I kind of like it. And then here's the Batmobile, $48 for this car, 438 pieces. I'm okay with some of the buzz that I've watched in the YouTube videos because people are saying, hey, these are going to be huge discount sets. So yeah, if you can get this for $25 or $30, maybe there's a little bit of room there, but let's look on Amazon. They both have a sales velocity of 1,000 per month. So it's not terrible. I mean, there obviously is popularity around Batman. We've got a little bit of third-party sales, not a lot of data, but it's not anything to get excited about. And then worse off, here's the Batmobile chart. And basically the third-party sales are the same or worse than what's going on, on the primary market on Amazon.com. So for me, these are no's, or let me restate again, they are big discount sets. If they go crazy on discount, yeah, I could see it. But right now, nope.
It's just really hard when you don't know anything about the source material to make an assessment. And so it's perfectly fine to do as I do and mostly sit out the DC, Batman, Marvel. A couple of years ago in 2022, I picked up one copy of the $40 tumbler set on a good discount from Kohl's. That set has done pretty well. It's up over $80 on Amazon. And so now I'm wondering, oh man, should I have picked up 10? Should I have picked up 20? But had it gone the other way, I would feel like an absolute fool for picking up 20 sets of questionable merit that I don't know anything about. So I prefer to stick close to things where I feel like my fandom and anecdotal experience does give me an advantage. Things like Star Wars, Speed Champions. It's possible these could go on to be great investments. We can look at the last Batwing that came out, that $200 black box, adult-oriented Batwing. And it was a completely different price bracket. That was a Batwing for adults. This is a Batwing for kids. I'm with you, Kevin. If I even invest in these sets, they would be heavy discount sets for me. I almost like the Batmobile better than the Batwing because it looks like it could fit into a city display.
I think the Batmobile is down in the hoopty because of that price point, and that Camel 3X chart did not look good. At least there was a pulse on the Camel 3X chart for the Batwing. So I'm thinking, what were they thinking for the Batwing and hoopty for the Batman?
Fine, we can put the Batmobile in hoopty, but the Harry Potter Brickheadz have to go below it.
I agree with that.
Next on our list, we have 3 high price point video game oriented sets, the first of which is retiring in just over a month. Here we have 71395 Super Mario 64 ? Block. Brickset actually has the wrong information here. This set did not retire at the end of last year. It's scheduled to retire at the end of July. If we look here on Camel 3X, look at that blue line. MSRP is 200 bucks. That blue line stretches as high as over 290, probably touching, $303. The highest price the set has ever sold for. And if you can get it 20% off, like you could have maybe right here, looks like that's a $160 US buy price. If you can buy this set in the next month or so, hold it until Q4, just 6 months from now, and sell it for $300, you're looking at doubling your money before fees. So after fees, that's still a 60-70% ROI. As we know, Super Mario is very popular today. Unlike the next set we have to talk about, I don't know anything about Atari. This really happened before my time. I was born in the 90s, not the 70s or the 80s. Before we get into the design, we're going to look at some cold, hard statistics in the form of Google Trends. This is a chart going back to 2004, comparing the search volumes between Atari 2600 and N64. Nintendo is in the red and Atari is in the blue. We can get less specific and just search for Atari versus Nintendo. Once again, we see Nintendo is dwarfing Atari. What comparing this data is doing for us is it's telling us the relative size of the fan base of each of these consoles or each of these video game brands. And it's not looking good for for Atari. It looks like we had a little bump there in 2013 for Atari down there, but it still pales in comparison to everything Nintendo. And wouldn't you know it, we have this set, 71374, the NES, also scheduled to retire at the end of this year. Now, it is a bit of an old set. It was launched back in 2020, but if you're deciding between which of these sets to invest in, the Atari or the Nintendo, this chart is all I have to show for you, my friend. It's no comparison when you're comparing the potential future market of fans that you're going to sell your set to. Getting back to this Atari, I just want to dunk on it a little bit more. This design has almost no visible Lego studs. 1, 2, 3, 4 visible studs in the front, 8 in the back. This is barely recognizable as a Lego product.
Yes, if you get it on sale, and yes, if you can sell it for 300, then that's good. But it'd be great if this went for 350. I don't know. It seems like a lot of money for a cube and some micro builds, no minifigures. So for some reason, I am nervous about this set, even though the data shows that it will be a good investment. Then we come over to the other Nintendo set, but it's not like it's a very cool looking console. You know, the future consoles all look better, and actually the Atari console looks a lot better in my opinion. So, and then the small TV just doesn't work for me next to the console. I just don't like the juxtaposition and the size. I get that the TV scrolls and people love that, but my gut is telling me that this one is not going to be a good investment. It's 270. So now we need people to pay 400 or more. Who's going to pay $400 for this? Maybe I'm way wrong, but if we look at the Camel 3X chart on this one, yeah, there's some life to it, right? Like, I mean, it's going for above a little bit, but it's averaging in the low 300s. So you're not getting much profit. I'd rather put my money into, say, 3 helmets. And then here's where I'm really struggling. So when I come to the Atari 2600, I don't really get this little flip out scene. I mean, it's cool. I kind of like how Lego did it, but I like it better with this slid in and this closed away and just the console looking like it does. You've got the joystick that is done very well. It plugs in. And then you've got these little 3-dimensional, vignettes, if you will, of 3 very classic popular games. I think they're great. They add some great color. Come back to this one, it's pretty boring other than the TV screen that has color and scrolls. The Atari 2600 looks the best by far, even better than the Cube. But anybody that's still alive that really is drawn to an Atari 2600 is very, very limited audience. So I am torn between these. And then, of course, $240, who's going to pay $400 for this? I'm not seeing that either. So this one is an absolute pass for me, even though it's a 4.6 and there's a lot of praise for it. And this one is a maybe for me, but I just don't quite get it.
This brings me back to where I originally felt coming into this conversation, knowing that there's such potential in the crossover from Lego and Mario. And yet the only sets we've gotten so far are these electronic play set game. Okay, they look cool, but they're not what people wanted. And then on the other end, we have these high-end adult-oriented display sets that are just at the wrong price point. So I'm still waiting for that sweet spot of Mario sets. As soon as we do get sets like that, I'll be going heavy into those because it's obvious from the Google Trends and from the Venn diagram of demographics that the demand is there and it's going underserved, man.
So this is a set that I want to invest in. $60, maybe a little expensive, but this is a great Mario set. It's a character. It's part of a scene. Got some bulk. It's very displayable. It's iconic, right? And so this one I like. And then the other one I popped open, which is a very, very expensive price point, but same story. This is an iconic character in, part of many scenes, right? And so these two I want to invest in. $270 is very expensive for the Mighty Bowser, but I want to see more like this from Lego. I don't care about the consoles. I care about cool characters, great detail, great design. I don't know if you've seen this build I saw in the Lego store. It is massive and it is well done. And there's a lot of popularity around this set.
This is really the sweet spot of where I want to see that $60 to $100 various characters. I mean, it's so obvious. Do a Mario character collection. I also think it'd be really funny to get this set and display it alongside other botanical sets as part of that collection. This set just came out at the end of 2023. It's not scheduled to retire anytime soon. We're going to have to see what the newer Mario releases are. If there are more along this line, this would be the first in that kind of sub-theme, and I'd be looking heavily at this set.
100%. Well, let's put these on the tier list.
Let's go top to bottom. I think the best performer of these is going to be the Q block. If nothing else, it's going to have a 6-month head start on the others in retirement. I think based on the data we're seeing, we can put this as a positively profitable set. Just how profitable exactly, maybe we're not sure, but it will be profitable.
That was the easy one. Now comes come the fireworks? Where are you going to put that NES?
If they go on releasing things like Mighty Bowser and Piranha Plant, especially, it's going to be off in the ditch somewhere, forgotten about, and I don't think there'll be much demand after retirement, making it a questionable choice for investment.
What were they thinking?
What were they thinking?
All right, that looks better to me.
Fine.
You can't put it above the John Deere tractor. That's my litmus test there.
The Atari.
I mean, this is pretty easy, DG.
Hoopty.
You don't got to think.
Who's buying it?
Since we also rank within each tier, it's the top of Hoopty, in my opinion.
Sorry, Atari fans.
Yeah, even though I do like that set. But I grew up in the 80s. I did play some Atari with my parents. They would pull their old one out every now and then. So I actually recognize some of those games.
It's a very cool collectible. Obviously an important piece of video game history. But as far as the demand for the Lego set at a premium price, Hoopty tier. Next on the list is the Lone Creator 3-in-1 set on the top 25 most talked about set list. Set number 31120, Medieval Castle. Launched in August of 21. This is a fairly long shelf life. A lot of people thought it might retire last year, but it's now on the list for 24. Why do I like this set? I'll tell you why I like this set. $100 price point and 1,426 pieces for that price. Looking at the models here, remember you get instructions for 3 of them. These are large parts, very useful. I mean, just look at these: medieval smithy, castle, this river outpost, a Japanese medieval thing. I can't see the complete titles unless I click into each of these, and there are just too many to open up individual tabs. Look at these alternate builds. These are amazing. So much potential with this set. Now, because it is a Creator 3-in-1, it's widely available. They've printed a zillion copies of this, and I've personally seen them in Walmart at $70, even as low as $50. So there is going to be a large supply on the secondary market after retirement of people who got it for that $50 and $70 price point. There's also no collectability. It's not a branded set. It's just Creator 3-in-1. And if Lego releases another Castle 3-in-1 set, that's going to steal a lot of demand away from this one. Like I said before, I look at sets that have amazing value in the box at the MSRP that make you wonder, wow, why is this so cheap? This fits that bill. And so I love this set. I think it's going to be a strong investment.
Totally agree. And you were talking about look what we can do with this set when we were looking at Rebrickable. Not only look at what we can do with one of this set, look at what we can do with 4 of this set. Combine all that together and make a bigger castle. That's the beauty of this set, is the castle just gets bigger and bigger. You can have as many as you want. You can add other pieces into it. There's just so much good you can do with it.
Also, logistically, this is a very hefty set. It weighs a lot, but the box footprint isn't huge. And so from a storage and shipping perspective, that's advantageous for an investment.
All right, let's put this one on the board.
This set does have a lot of things going for it, but it lacks collectability, and it might have a large supply on the secondary market obtained at a cheap price. I'm saying if you can get it at a cheap price like that, this is positively profitable.
And I would actually go ahead and put that right next to the Eldorado Castle. That's my vote.
I think our personal bias, both of ours, for loving this set is shining through.
Next up is A-Frame Cabin. EG, although this set is in the top 25 of sets getting the most mentions, I still feel like it's flying a little bit under the radar. The enthusiasm score that is going with the set is only decent. And so for me, I actually am more excited about it than the average person. And I've got a very short, quick and simple argument in favor of this set. If we look over here, it's going to have less than a 2-year shelf life. $180 is an excellent price point for the almost 2,100 pieces. It, of course, is a beautiful looking set. But let me click over to this one right here, the Treehouse. It's been on the retirement list multiple times, and Lego keeps taking it off and keeps selling it. And why? Because it is extremely popular. This look similar, play similar. As long as this one does not go into a 3, 4, 5-year shelf life, there is going to be equal popularity for it. I am excited about it.
I don't know about equal popularity. Aesthetics wise, it definitely matches the Treehouse, and it is an ideas set. We've talked on prior episodes about how ideas sets are kind of one-offs, but thematically this does go with a lot of other city sets. I think you could do a Lego city and then have this off in a field or in a forest somewhere off to the side. I have not built this set, but I did flick through the instruction booklet, and the build techniques are really amazing. The way that A-frame comes together is just chef's kiss.
Oh, there's a chef's kiss. We always get one of those in every one of our videos. For those of you playing along, you can knock that one off on your bingo card.
We're gonna have to make Brick Talk Bingo coming soon. I know the part count is up there, but at $180, looking at this, that seems a little expensive. I would like to get it for around 150, if not better. But I think this one's
That's
gonna
fair.
do quite well as an investment.
And that's fair. And we know we'll be able to do that. Stacking promos, stacking points and GWPs. It's definitely possible to get this for about 150.
Let's rank it.
So for me, I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm not going to hold back any secrets. This is absolute winner, Barad-dûr.
I would want to see more data before I confidently put this up there in absolute winner tier, but I do like this set a lot, both personally and for investment. Not sure if it's absolute winner tier. Let's stick it in profitable, maybe just below these exclusive Brickheadz. What do you think? Next to Eldorado?
That works for me.
We got 4 more sets. Let's get into them.
Next up is our only NASA set on this list, 10283 NASA Space Shuttle Discovery. Excellent NASA set. I'm a believer on all the NASA themed sets. I mean, I think this is a pretty easy one for me. It's a fantastic build. It's huge. It's a great price at $200. We'll be able to get it on a little discount, but it's 2,300 pieces. You get not only the shuttle with the plaque, but you also get the telescope with the plaque. Packs up and goes in the cargo bay there. The design is kind of perfect. The proportions, I mean, you can't go wrong with this set. Let's just look at a couple of comparables. The Apollo Saturn V came out twice. The first one retired in 2019 and the second one retired in 2022. This is really all we need to see. NASA does so well. Lego said, hey, we're doing this set, releasing it again. And if we look at these, they both are making money. And you could have got these for like 80, 90 bucks in some cases. And so people who are doing their due diligence, they got good deals and they are making money on a set that Lego brought back for another couple of years. And then let's just look at the latest example. Here's the Ideas International Space Station. It retailed for $70. Here it is for 105 shipped, 105 shipped, and it's only been off the shelves for just over a year. So they're evergreen sets. I'm not saying this goes at the top of our tier list, but it definitely goes where it's going to be making money.
Well, where do you think the space shuttle goes?
C tier. It's going to make you some money.
But it's not an exclusive Brickhead that you worship at the altar of, so it's got to go below Sonic.
I agree.
Yeah, you would. Up next, we have an old set launched in 2020, 10274 Ghostbusters Ecto-1. Originally $200. That's been bumped up to, $240 US ever since 2022. Not sure how much popular appeal Ghostbusters really has in 2024. The set has had a long shelf life. I would assume that means that it's selling well for Lego. So it's possible this set never gets released again. And if that's the case, maybe it could go on to become pretty collectible. But if it gets re-released in any form, large or small, why would somebody pay $300 for this retired when they could go pick up a brand new one for, I don't know, 50 or 100 or 150?
Yeah, not my favorite. I understand people who really love Ghostbusters love this. And I've heard great things about it from those Ghostbusters super fans. I just feel like Ghostbusters is tapering off, kind of like Indiana Jones we were talking earlier. I don't see Ghostbusters transcending many more generations. But I will acknowledge that the Ghostbusters headquarters, that building that came out years ago, is doing really well.
I do like that this Ghostbusters Ecto-1 blends in with other creator expert vehicles like the Mustang, like the Corvette that's scheduled to retire. Limited demand on the Corvette, and I think also limited demand on this, but it's part of a series that brings collectability with it. How are we going to rank it?
Low for me, not hoopty low, but low.
As much as I personally dislike this set, it's kind of a question mark. The camel chart does look decent. It's been around for 4+ years, so obviously it's selling well for Lego now. Will it in the future at a higher price? We don't know. I think I'm going to call this a questionable choice beneath that Indiana Jones temple.
100% agree. Man, we are agreeing way too much on these last few, but you nailed it on that one.
Up next, we have Tales of the Space Age again. I just talked about this set last time on the podcast, and I must say, Kevin, that your comments on this set have convinced me a little bit. It might not be such a bad set after all. It's on sale currently for $40 from Amazon, close to 700 pieces. And while it does lack that collectability, like I was saying, the aesthetics of it do look quite good. And like I said last time on the podcast, another positive for this set is that you can hang it on the wall. Also launched May of last year. If it retires, that's a very short shelf life, which is a good sign for some other ideas sets in the past. So I'm more middling on this one. I'm not going to throw it in the bottom, but it's certainly not my top pick this year. What do you have?
What do you think somebody would pay for this box someday?
It's a $50 set already. It's clearly selling, at least somewhat. So I don't think 60 is abnormal at all. Would you pay 80 for this? 20 bucks per scene. I think that sounds pretty reasonable.
I think so too, actually. I think even 100 could happen. And so that's where I go with this, where I say, hey, between 80 and 100, if you can buy for $35 or $40 equivalent, there's some maybe potential. Now, maybe it crashes and burns, but just the aesthetic beauty of this, right? How pretty it is, the nice colors, the way they transition. There's some nice stuff to just look at here. And so I could see somebody saying, hey, $80 to $100 to hang that on my wall is not unreasonable to them.
I like the $40 price point a lot more than the $200 price point in terms of room to grow. And like you were saying, something this abstract with as few comparables, that kind of helps it. Just you and I talking, we're seeing the appeal at even $100 for this sealed after retirement. The question is, will the supply allow it to get there? Or another way of thinking of it, will strong enough demand push that price up high and eat up all that supply? I don't know. Wow, turnaround story of the year, Tales of the Space Age. Going into this, I was going to have this as what are we thinking, but I think I can call this solidly C tier.
Yep, right there, right next to the other space set. All right, everybody, we have made it. We are down to our last set, and we saved one of the best for last. We didn't do that on purpose. That's just the way the chips fell. But I think DD and I both agree that this is a really good one, and it is Ninjago City Gardens. $350, huge price tag, but 22 minifigures and 5,685 pieces. It will have almost a 4-year shelf life. I'm okay with that at a set this expensive. 4.6 on Brickset. Over 10,000 people on Brickset already have it. The demand is absolutely there. A set at this price, I am not worried about there being too much supply on the secondary market. I am very high on this set as an investment. And let's just look at the other sets in this theme. There are 4 and only 4. The first one is Ninjago City, retired in 2019, $300 to over $700. The second one is City Docks, retired in 2019, $230 to almost $600. And then the last one, which is the fourth, has not retired yet, came out in June of 23, $370. Which of those 4 is just the best to look at and the best design and the best build?
I gotta say, it's either gotta be this retiring City Gardens or the just revealed markets, but that market is going to be around for 2 or 3 more years at least.
For me, this one takes the cake because the Ninjago City Markets has the monorail, which is awesome. I love this set. Like, I don't hate on this, but it's a little bit bulky right through the middle. So aesthetically, it's not quite as pleasing to look at, even though everything else is beautiful. So this one edges out. The other 2 that have already retired have done fantastic. Again, everybody knows that these sets do well in the secondary market, but not everybody's going to be stacking up on a bunch of them at $350 a pop. And so I'm not worried about the supply. Oh, by the way, Lego also came out with these little micro sets that you can get with insider points. So this keeps the buzz going, and there will be 4 of them, but the first 2 have already been released. They're really cool, actually. They're tiny, and I love it.
The markets having buildings on both sides and then the monorail in the middle, it looks great, but it's just not as visually imposing as this teal blue tall spire. I highly recommend checking out the Brickset review of this set because there are so many details packed into this. Every one of those 5,700 parts works well to create the whole. 2 concerns I have. The first is that the 2 in this series that have already retired, Ninjago City and Ninjago City Docks, were a lower price point, closer to 200, 230, or 250. This set retailing at 350 leaves a little bit less room to grow from that price, or even from the 20% off price. The next thing that has me concerned is we know Lego likes to release these insiders points, VIP special sets in series of 4. We had Houses of the World, 4 of them. We have the flower shop and the other shop, and by the end of it, we're going to have how many shops? 4. So what worries me about the Ninjago City series is that we may have already had the last one released in the Ninjago City markets. I would love if they released a 5th or even a 6th, and obviously if they do, that's going to drive so much demand to this retiring Ninjago City Gardens. But if that doesn't happen, it's just going to be the city market that drives demand to this set. Let's say City Market retires at the end of 2025, or more likely at the end of 26. After that, there's not going to be any new releases driving demand to City Gardens. So that's my concern. But out of the series, I gotta say, Ninjago City Gardens, is my favorite. I'll definitely be picking one up for personal build and maybe also for investment.
So I'm going to respond to both your points, and I'm going to start with the second one. I actually totally disagree with you about worrying about there being enough buzz to keep driving demand for these Ninjago sets. So I know we haven't heard officially, but the rumors are very strong that we are not getting any more in this series. So that is a valid point. And if you look on the back of the micro set, it says collect all 4 of the micro builds. That is another strong indication that we are done with these. But I think as long as Ninjago is still a theme, then there is going to be buzz and desirability. And I mean, if Lego made a 5th and a 6th, then great, but I don't feel the need for it because they are so big. If you get 4 of the large Ninjago City sets and make a Ninjago City layout that you either want to display or play with, you're already taking up a lot of space on a table or on your shelves. I don't think we need any more. Get a bunch of minifigures, get all the other sets that kind of go with them, and kids and adults alike can have a great time with these. So I think that because Ninjago City, I mean, it is the environment that everything else takes place in. You got to have that, right? Like, that's just kind of your baseline. You have, like, where is all this happening? In these buildings, in this town. I'm not worried about needing to have any more of these produced. I think that there will be strong demand for them. Now, your first point about it being more expensive at the 350 instead of the 200 or 250 price point, I totally agree with that. So I'm not saying that this one is going to triple like the others have, but at 350, you get some promos and discounts. I think $700 for this set is perfectly reasonable in the future. And so when I adjust for where we are and what our expectations are for Lego investing today, I think this one is going to be fantastic.
Can't argue with that. One more risk with this really high price point is potential fraud on returns, especially on Amazon. You might have a hard time with people pulling out the minifigures and then attempting a fraudulent return. So on Bricklink and other highly feedback-based platforms, that's not as much of a problem, but definitely on Amazon and a little bit on eBay, you want to be wary selling sets of $300, $400, $500, $600, $700. But yeah, I love this set. Let's rank it. So I definitely see why this is one of the most talked about investment sets this year. I think even if there are no new releases in this Ninjago City sub-theme, it's going to be a great investment. And if there happen to be any more new releases, or as you say, continual releases in Ninjago, this is going to be absolute winner, Baradur, just behind those exclusive Brickheadz.
That's right. You nailed it. I knew we were going to get a second one up there in the top tier. I thought you were going to go positively profitable, and I was going to have to explain that I see the world through rose-colored lenses, and everybody accuses me of being too positive and blah, blah, blah. But you're right there with me, DG. I love it.
Yeah, and then we were going to have to put a square on the Brick Talk bingo that Kevin tries to talk me into increasing a ranking when it really shouldn't be. I made it easy for you.
Well, that's all 25 sets. Looking good.
Before we finalize this, is there any last-minute adjustments you think need doing? Positively profitable, looking a little crowded there.
I'm okay with that. Remember, these are the 25 most mentioned Lego sets for investing this calendar year. So it should be slightly top-heavy, but even in the top 25 most mentioned, there are some hoopty sets. There are some what were they thinking or what are we thinking sets. And then, some ones in the middle, they're like, yeah, they may be okay, but, some concerns. So I think it's pretty good distribution, honestly.
Yeah, as crowded as our second tier looks, these are all pretty heavy hitters, and I can't really move any of them down too far.
The one that sticks out for me that I think I like where it is, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I still think it's going to do better, but I just don't have the data to support it, is that John Deere tractor.
Really?
Yeah. My gut tells me that, that's going to be, honestly, my gut tells me it could be as high as a C tier.
Well, on some of the early retirees in the Monster Jam Technic sub-theme, those have gone on to do pretty well. And yes, those were $20 price point, not $35.
And I know when we were talking in between the edit there for a second, you said you wanted to come back and talk about the Prisoners of Azkaban Brickheadz a little bit longer, right?
No more Brickheadz.
Oh, no more Brickheadz. You keep saying that, and I just keep hearing it differently. I keep hearing more Brickheadz.
Yeah, you like your Brickheadz. I like my battle packs. It is what it is.
You know what was nice about not having any Star Wars sets in this video? We didn't have to talk about any battle packs.
Yeah, going forward, we're going to have a reordered, reconfigured Lego Star Wars 2024 list. There was popular demand that we each have our own lists, so that might be a fun one.
I think we should do that. That way I can finally drive one.
In your dreams, buddy. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for doing this with me, Kevin.
Always fun. Always fun.
We always enjoy doing these. We enjoy reading the comments. If you have thoughts, feel free to put them in the comments below. We love to read them. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again soon.